and that was happened with another child in the neighborhood. And that only recently have I realized how much that affected me and my later behaviors.
Okay.
That was when I was 10. And then as I grew up, I kind of ignored it because even though I knew that what happened was wrong, I didn't think it was that wrong because it wasn't an adult who did it. So I kind of just went with it. And I grew up, high school, I started to party a little bit. I always used to say this like as if I was somebody special. I never got into drugs, like as if that makes me better than anybody, right?
All right.
But that's the way that's how I used to think, right? And I didn't. But the way I like to say it is my alcohol use um, more than made up for it. So high school, that's when that started, and then of course when I went to college, like most college students, my drinking increased. However, um, other people started to grow out of it, and I didn't. Mine just kept going. And then I realized, especially while I was in college, when I turned 21, I realized that it's obviously easier to get alcohol when you're 21, and then also um, what used to be Friday and Saturday night became Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, Sunday, and then that just became all week. And then it got to a point my senior year where I was actually going to class with alcohol in my bottle, and
Shit.
it was the worst part about it was because of the time in the 1990s and because of the school I went to, I wasn't the only one doing that. And it was known that people did that. And I'm not going to say nobody cared, but I look at it now like it was enabling behavior because
Okay.
the school really wasn't, nobody was causing a ruckus. But anyway, as I graduated college, got a teaching job right out of college, which was great. And then I realized that I had more money, so I could do whatever I wanted to do whenever I wanted to do it. And I still managed to maintain a career. And as I progressed in my career, everything I did, my drinking progressed even more. So I went back for a master's degree, got a master's degree in history. And not only did I teach high school, I also taught some college classes. And while I'm doing this is all great, but my drinking's getting worse. And I justified it, of course, by saying I only drink, right? I don't do any other things. But I also justified it by saying I don't drink all day, every day. I don't wake up in the morning and have to drink, so I'm okay. I go to work, so I'm okay. Until I started calling out, until I started using up my sick time and then more, didn't make me stop. So all this continued, all this progressed. And while I'm doing this, like many other people who suffer with an addiction or struggle with an addiction, I should say, my inhibitions kept getting lowered. And I would just engage in behaviors that were not only not only just they weren't illegal, but just things that I'm not proud of. The more I um, got into my addiction, even though, like I said, I justified it by saying, "Oh, I don't drink all the time." The more I got into it, the more my inhibitions went down, and the more I did things, like I said, that I'm just not proud of right now. And I don't need to get into details about that, but again, with that, it got progressively worse,
Okay.
and then it got to a point where the decisions that I made, the choices that I made, started affecting my body, and I had to resign from my career after 28 years. So that brought me to about 2.5 years ago, and I spent 3 months in jail. It was supposed to be 6 months. I know for a lot of people that's not a lot, um, but it's something that was completely foreign to me and to anybody in my family or my immediate orbit. So it was just I did not grow up knowing anybody who went to jail. It was just completely foreign. But and the reason I say that is because it opened my eyes to how far I had gone, how far I had gotten, and the fact that all this time I believed in God. I claimed to be a Christian. but I was so far from where I needed to be, and yet the entire time I thought I was okay until I wasn't.
So, how did your drinking affect your family in any way?
Yeah, it did, and I was just talking to my sponsor about this morning. We meet every Sunday. Um, as my drinking progressed, I, like many people, I'm not special, I knew I had a problem, and I knew I needed to stop, I knew I should stop, but it was always tomorrow.
So there was
I'll
no,
stop tomorrow.
so there was no denial that you had a problem at all. You knew.
There wasn't. There
Okay.
wasn't.
All right.
If anything, talking about my family, if anything, members of my family, I think were in denial, and even my friends. And the reason I say that is because I mean, I can laugh about this now, but I drank in a sophisticated way. I drank top shelf stuff. I drank like martinis, and I'd have, oh, you only used to have like 3 or 4 drinks. Yeah, 3 or 4 martinis is like 12 drinks. That's not okay. So I think my family was in denial for a while about my drinking because it looked like I was okay until again it got worse, and then I was missing out on work, um, and then right, well, of course, when I had to resign, my family definitely was affected by that.
And you said you've always believed in God, right?
Yeah.
So, at any point during your alcoholism, did you ever feel that God turned his back on you because of this addiction that you acquired? Or did you always feel that he was there and you were the one that turned it back?
Um, I I always I never doubted God,
Okay.
and from people that I've talked to, I feel like I might be in the minority in that. I think a lot of people feel like maybe that God turned their back on them. Like, why
I'm
did
one of
God
those
make me suffer for that?
things like that.
I think I was just it was always in the back of my head that um, I am drinking to escape from something, and that's on me. And I think I was always aware of that, even though I didn't always know what I was escaping from. So I didn't. I guess I am in the minority. I didn't doubt God. Um, if anything, I wonder if I no, I didn't doubt God, but what I did doubt was I can't go to Christ because I'm not good enough. So I didn't doubt God's existence,
That
but I could not go. And it's like that classic case of, oh, I got to clean myself up before I can go, and that's not how it works.
some as you are.
Yeah, right.
Some as you are. Yeah, I can relate to that because in my addiction, most of my life, I had my back towards God, right? But I was always saying, oh, he doesn't love me. He doesn't care about me. Or he would have let me go down this road, right? Like you said, it was a minority. A lot of people I know are like that. Like, God doesn't love us. God turned his back on us. You know, we can run from him. He can never run from us. He's always there,
Right.
right?
That's right. That's like even in the Garden of Eden, right? When he comes, when Adam and Eve sin, and then God comes and says, "Where are you?" He knew where they were.
Yeah,
He he wasn't like actually looking for them. He was waiting to see what they were going to say.
yeah. So after you said you had to resign from your job because of alcohol,
Yeah,
and then you said then your family kind of realized that there was a problem.
yeah.
How how did they take it after they came to the realization that hey, there's a problem here? How did they take it?
Um, well, my extended family uh, didn't take it well in that um, they just didn't understand why I just couldn't stop, but like why I had let things get that far. My immediate family, in the meantime, had been saved in that my father had passed away about 13 years ago, and my mother married my stepfather, whose wife had passed away. Long story short, he's an elder at at our church, but my mother didn't go to that church at that time. So the reason I say that is because when all that happened and I had to resign and so on, my mother and stepfather, my stepsister, they were already saved, so they were more gracious, whereas the rest of my family not so. So they I think it was their, I guess you could say their faith that let them take it differently. But I do have to say, and I'm not saying this like I'm trying to give myself a pat on the back, but my being broken like that really made me look at myself and say, this has got to stop. And I know it's not about works, but I picked myself up and I did what I got to do in order to get better. But I didn't do that on my own. That was all God.
As much as we like to be selfish and say, "Well, I did this," God did it.
Yeah.
God did it.
Yeah. I was never capable of doing it.
No. And so the turning point for you was when you went to jail.
Yeah.
The 90 days. So
It was, yeah, it was supposed to be 6 months,
Okay.
but it was 90 days. And I don't want to downplay my experience, but it was in the county jail, and it wasn't. I was put in a work tier where I actually got paid. So it was like $10 or whatever it was. So again, I don't want to diminish it, but I'm also aware that other people have experienced a lot worse. But while I was there, I saw um, things that I never knew existed in life, the way people lived. And I don't mean I don't mean the people, I mean those people's lives. Like when I was there, even just for those 3 months, you know, I was, I had people to call, I had people visiting, I whatever. There were people who were there whose family disowned them. Like they didn't have anything or anybody. The only food they got was the garbage that we got served. But they had no money for commissary. They had nobody sent putting money on their books, nothing. And I started to see the blessings that I had that I completely took advantage of my entire life. And I also, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I also realized while I was there, even the way I was treated when I was there, the privilege that I have and that I had when I was there. So
So when you got released, how was? Well, let me ask this: when you were in jail, did you detox alcohol really hard?
did what?
Did you detox alcohol really hard?
I didn't.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't. Um, and to this day, I don't know why. Um, I've talked to my therapist about this, and he seems to think, and I should actually ask my regular doctor. He seems to think that it's because I didn't drink in the morning throughout the day. It's like maybe I wasn't. I say this in very loose air quotes. I wasn't as bad physically as I was mentally.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So when you got out, what, what did you do to keep it not get your life back together?
So before I had gone in, of course, I had gotten saved, and I'd been baptized. I was baptized as an infant, but I was baptized by my own choice. Um, so I had built up fellowship in our church, for example. And so when I got out, I had that church family to return to, which was wonderful to have. And while I was in there, they bring, I don't know if they do it where you are, I'm sure they do. Do they bring AA meetings into the jails and
Oh, yeah.
prisons?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I went to the AA meeting there, and a funny story, the meeting that I go to, my home group meets 7 days a week at 7 a.m. in my town. And for years, I had said to myself that I should go to that meeting because like I said, I knew there was something going on, and I never went. Long story short, when I get to jail, the man who brings the meeting in is from that home group,
Oh,
is
wow.
from that group. And so when I got out, I had a group already to go to. I had a contact person. I met, his name is Paul. I met Paul at the meeting the next day. So I had these things in place. There's a local counseling service that they would do like the video calls when you're in jail. They would do them once a week. So I had those career counseling people that I went to. I guess this is where I could say that I give myself a little bit of credit. Um, Whatever I learned though that short time amount of time in jail to do when I got out, I did. So I had those things in place and I used them. So for anybody who listens or watches, they do work. Because if I didn't have those things, I don't know I wouldn't know what to do because I wouldn't even know how to get resources. I even got, and I'm going to be completely candid right now. I even gotten food stamps. That was an embarrassment for me. Somebody like me, that was, and I'm not dissing anybody that for me and my family, that's an embarrassment. And I'm just saying that to be candid. The reason why I'm saying that is because I had that when I got out because I needed it. I wouldn't know how to even get that if I didn't learn when I was inside. When you get out, you need to do this, 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 and this. So I guess that's a long answer to what could be a pretty short question. Is when I got out, I guess I just followed what I was told for the first time in my life. I followed what I was told to do.
Okay. And you still go to that home group every day at 7?
I don't go every day because I work. So on the weekends I go I go 7 o'clock Saturday and Sunday. And if I'm off, I'll go as well.
And, how long you been out of jail now?
Year and a half.
So, after getting out and getting your life together, how do you feel? Is there some days where you wake up and say, I really want to drink? Or has the obsession been lifted?
It's I'll answer it like this. I have no desire to ingest the alcohol. I have no desire for the effect that it gave me, and I have no desire for even for the escape that it gave me. But here's what I do miss: the ritual. The ritual of, okay, it's this time. I'm making dinner. I used to make a cocktail at this time. Oh, I'm going to put on these. I like records. I'm going to put on a Frank Sinatra record. I used to drink a glass of scotch. You know what I'm saying? Like I miss the ritual. That's what that I think about often. But the actual obsession about the escape, because now I know what I was escaping from, that's been lifted. And of course, again, that's God. That's not me.
So do you feel those rituals with something else today? Or do you just completely let them go?
Both. I'll just occupy my time doing other things. Like for example, I'm not like clinically OCD, but I like things done a certain way. Like, I like things nice and clean and neat. And I used to always keep my house like that, but I used to bitch and moan while I did it. Oh, I got to clean this now. I got to do this now. Now I do that without complaining. So like I just do that without the complaints. Or I bought a French press. Like I'll make and a coffee grinder. I'll make coffee, but I'll make it like the old fashioned way where I turn that ritual into something that's not alcohol.
Yeah, I got one of those in the kitchen. They're the best kind of coffee you can drink.
It really is.
Yeah.
And another thing I did, it's become a ritual now, is I started making my dog's food. So I meal prep for him.
Okay.
So not only is it better for him, but it's also helps me out.
Right. And how does your family react now to you being sober? Are they?
There's a part of me, and I know this is from the enemy. There's a part of me that says I don't deserve the support that I get from them, and I know that's not the way I should be thinking, but the support it's overwhelmingly. They're overwhelmingly supportive, and I think it's because they saw me the way I had seen myself for a long time, but that I kept hidden. And I think that they realized how bad things had gotten in my own head that I never shared with them. So I think that they see me how I am now, and it's just a complete 180. And again, I don't take any credit for it.
So what do you do on a daily basis to be a better person?
Um,
Is it a
well,
constant? Is every day a constant? What can I do better? How can I better myself today? Or you just live life and figure it out? Or is there still room to work? Is there still lots to work on?
it's a combination of both. I've learned mindfulness, like being in the moment, and just like not that I don't think about, not that I still let my mind wander because I have ADHD, so my mind's going to go all different places anyway. But I'll just live, like say one day at a time. I'll live like in the moment today. This is where I am. This is what I'm doing. But at the same time, I'm always looking for ways that I can bring to other people what I've found, even if it's at work. Since we're not saying names and you don't know who it is, a man I work with um, shared with me just randomly that he got a DUI and he's going to be going to court and he's going to be losing his license. And thinking about it, a couple of days go by, and I said to him, I said, "Look, you live in the same town as I do. So if you need me to pick you up for work, because you work the same schedule as me, I'll pick you up for work, and then somebody else can drive him home." So just things like that I'll do that I wouldn't have offered to do that before.
Yeah, helping others.
Yeah, when I can, and I look for it, but I don't know if being of service is the only thing that's helping keep me sober. I think it's finding the word, my family, um, like doing stuff like this.
So, for somebody who comes to AA, right, and they have a problem with the idea of God, because the whole program is wrapped in God.
Yeah.
What any suggestions that you can give them if they don't completely agree with the whole God thing?
You know, um,
I know some people say a doorknob can be your God, right? But once that doorknob breaks, is that there goes your whole recovery out the window because that doorknob broke?
yeah,
Like,
I
stuff like that, I can't.
I get it. There's two. I have two things to say about that. I'll go with the doorknob thing. We were just talking about this yesterday with somebody. Um, I do. I think I shared with you. I do an addiction recovery group at my church every other Saturday, and we were just talking about this. And when somebody comes to AA, for example, and you say like the doorknob can be your God, the way I look at that is that's the segue in. The the goal is that that person will realize very quickly that the doorknob is not a God, and that the real focus is that there is something out there and I'm not it. So when I look at it like, oh, your water bottle can be your God. I think what we're really saying is you're not God. The fact that you can think anybody else is God, the point is that whatever it is you think is God, okay, but you're not it. You're not God. You got to surrender to yourself before you can submit to any higher power. And the other thing I'd like to say is maybe because I taught history is like, um, you have a problem with the whole God thing. Then why do you live in America? Because this country was pretty much God was pretty much everywhere since the
Yeah,
beginning.
right.
So I don't see you moving out of the country. And not that I'm not saying people should, but you can't throw out the baby with the bathwater, as they say.
And is there any feedback maybe for somebody still struggling that's watching this or going through something? It doesn't have to be drug addiction, alcohol, because there's a lot of things to struggle with. Is there any feedback or anything that you can tell the person?
Yeah, and you got to get beyond the first sentence of what I'm going to say. Read the Bible. Even if you don't believe that it's the divinely inspired word of God, even if you don't believe in the prophecies, even if you don't believe that Christ is the Son of God, you read what's in the Bible, you're reading documents because it's not one book, it's a series of books that were put together into one book. You're reading documents that were written thousands of years ago. You can't deny that fact. They were written thousands of years ago. and they are describing people just the way we describe people now. The same things that we struggle with are in the book that was written thousands of years ago. So that's what I would say. And I know that that might put a lot of people off, but just get it out of your head about the whole God thing.
Yeah.
Go there and look at it, because you'll find yourself in that book written thousands of years ago across the world.
That's good advice. And you said that you have a podcast as well.
I do. Mine is on New Jersey history, so it's not related to what we're talking about.
Okay.
But I actually am. I'm kind of toying with doing one like this. Um, but I kind of have this feeling that in my life, especially in my addiction, I loved hearing myself talk. I could talk about myself all day long, and I have no problem standing in front of hundreds of people and talking, but I can't talk in an AA meeting. It's the weirdest thing. So I almost feel like that might be God telling me to just keep your mouth shut for a while. So I would love to have, like, to do what you're doing, but I just don't know if it's where I need to be right now.
Right. It, and he'll show you if that's where he wants you to be. You know, because this whole broken to redemption thing, it got put on my heart, right, by God, and he may not talk to me directly, but he's sure showing me these little signs that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? And he's just putting more things on my heart. Call me crazy, but I think it's him showing me. You know what I
You
mean?
are not crazy.
Okay.
You are
Yeah.
definitely, you know you're not crazy.
Yeah. But there's just so much more I want to do with this whole thing. He's just affirming that, like, no, you're doing what you're
And you're open, right? You're open to whatever he puts on you, right?
doing. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's not me doing it, it's him.
Right,
So
right.
I pray every day for him to use me as a vessel. Like, let me go out there and help people, show them the word, and just be a servant. You know, and I do, not to toot my own horn, I do homeless outreach and all that. And it's not even about giving out food, right? It's not about giving out the Narcan so they can possibly save somebody's life. It's, you can just go out there and just sit in a chair, and as they pass by, you can go into the side and start talking to them. Because a lot of people forget that they're humans too, right? And just because we're not going what they're going through doesn't make them any less than we are. We're all the same. We're all child of God, right?
Hmm.
And like, that's, people just need to have more compassion on stuff like that. You know what I mean?
I do. And I mean, the way I started looking at things, and again, God had to put this on me because I didn't used to not think this way. Um, I start seeing people now like souls. Like I'm seeing, I'm not seeing like auras or anything like that, but I'm seeing people as souls. You strip the person of their fleshly body, and whatever's there is the same substance as what's in you or me. So I mean that's how I'm starting to look at people. And I mean, I think that's kind of what you're saying too, in a way, when you look like homeless people.
We're all the same. We all breathe the same. We all breathe the same. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And just, I see a lot of people, and I will say I they used to be like this, right? In my addiction, like, oh, I'm not that bad, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I didn't want to accept it. I was that bad. Just because I wasn't living on the street, I was still
Right.
struggling with the same stuff they were struggling.
Yeah, the same. And it's almost like when I would say, like, oh, I'm not that bad. I think what I have to charge my laptop. Sorry. I think what I was really saying was, I don't want to look at myself as I really am.
I know in my addiction, because I didn't want to, well, to be honest, I didn't know who I was. From a young age, I didn't know who I was,
Yep.
right? But I put on all of these masks, right? I was hanging out with this crowd, I would have that mask on. I was hanging out with these people, I'd be a totally different person, right? 7 different personalities just so I can blend in and be a chameleon and get high with these people. You know what I mean? Oh, you want me to be this person? Okay, cool. I'll be that person. You know, like I did. I didn't find myself until 2020 when I got right, and I'm still finding out who I am.
I think, I mean, what you just pretty much told my story right there. And I think that's common among people who suffer with an addiction.
Do you have any questions for me? Do you have anything else to say?
Um, the only thing is, and I've been thinking about, I think about this a lot or often. I know that even when you're in school, you know, that they give you talks about drugs and alcohol and stuff like that, and even self harm and things like that. People say, "Oh, there's help out there." You're not alone, and of course that is true. And I think it's important for people who struggle with an addiction to know that not only are they not alone, but it's the perfect example of, you look at a person in just in your everyday life at the store or whatever, you have no idea what they're going through. Absolutely no clue, and yet we judge them. I do still do it all the time, but now I catch myself. So you don't know what anybody's going through, and nobody knows what you're going through. So you can't expect somebody to understand what you're going through if they've never gone through it. So I think for people, especially people who suffer with an addiction, we first have to give ourselves some kind of grace, because, at least for me, there's a reason why I escaped into alcohol. It's and going the drinking, I'm responsible for it, but I'm not responsible for what drove me to do it. So you've got to give if there's a traumatic event that led you to a substance, you've got to acknowledge that that was not your fault, but you do have responsibility in what you do with where you are.
You have to hit that issue that caused you to drink and use head on. Like what was the factor that led you down this road? If you never tackle that, it's going to be the same thing. Yeah, you may get 60, 90 days clean, maybe even a year, but it's always going to come up in the back of your mind. And I know a lot of people that have taken out. You know what I mean? They refuse to let it go and face that problem head on. And that's probably the downfall of maybe 80% of people who try to do recovery. They don't let go and let God.
Yeah, I think too, a lot of people are, um, I don't like to say it this way. I think a lot of people are afraid of God, because looking at, when you face God, or especially when you face Jesus is very offensive, because not because of what he says, but because you have to look at yourself. And I think a lot of people have a problem with that, because they're scared of what they are.
And they don't want to, almost like they're embarrassed to go to God. That's how I was. It's like, he's not going to forgive me for what I've done. I've done all this stuff. No, I don't think. But then again, I didn't really know him. I never really read the word. And that he died on the cross for all my sins, past, present, future. But although it doesn't mean that you can run it up like a credit card because it's
No,
given, you know what I
nope.
mean? You have to realize, like, okay, I did this one sin. You have to turn from it, right? In my Bible study, we have a saying: pray, read, repent, serve. You know, and you always got to pray. You always got to read. You always got to repent, because we're not perfect. We sin daily on a daily basis. Right?
Yeah, because when Christ came, he didn't make us into God. So, we are. I once had a Catholic priest tell me, actually, when I was in jail, the Catholic priest came in and did confession and that once a week. Even though I'm not Catholic, he would sit down with anybody. You didn't have to be a Roman Catholic. And I would say to him how, I struggle with forgiving myself, and so on and so forth. And he said, where in Scripture did Jesus Christ say that you were going to stop being a human? And it's true.
Yeah. Good point. Any other questions for me?
No, I just wanted to say that I think it's great that you're doing this. I know it takes a lot of not only time. I know because the podcast that I do is not even related to this, but still, yeah, just the time, the preparation, and everything. That it's a
Oh,
lot, and um, it might seem overwhelming
oh yeah.
at
Last
times.
last night when I was trying to get this all dialed in, it was a mess. I was contacting the support from the streaming channel, and they couldn't give me an answer, so I had to find a way around to save everything, and it worked out. But it's a little stressful. But I'll get the hang
It
of it.
always does work out,
Yeah, it always
but
does.
it doesn't always work out the way we expect it or want it to work out.
Right? Exactly. Yep. It works out the way in His will.
That's right.
You know. Uh, yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on and telling about your story. Um, hopefully hopefully it hits home with some people that are still struggling. You know.
Absolutely.
And we'll keep in contact. And you have a wonderful day, man. Thank you.
I'm going to message you every day to make sure to see how you're doing.
Okay, for sure. Same.
All right.
All right, brother.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
If you're struggling with any type of anything, addiction, abuse, and you have gotten your life back together and want to jump on this podcast, please look me up on Instagram, Broken2redemption, or TikTok, Broken2redemption, if you're interested in being on the podcast. Even if you're still struggling and you want some help, please reach out. I'm always there. Thank you guys.